Shalom Hebrews, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Alright, Hebrews, how many people do we let claim an Israelite heritage? Should we be truthful to them? This truth should set them free. It's a lot of people claiming the Israelite heritage and been doing it a long time. I got plenty videos covering this. The truth hurts some people, man. You know what I'm saying? Because all their life, man, they've been living their life as an Israelite, and they've been told that they descendants from the Israelites, and then some of them been having an Israelite heritage, claiming it for some thousands of years. 25, well, not 25, but 15, 1600 years they've been having the Israelite heritage. And so man, people, man, they kind of, they ain't gonna want to come off and just accept that they ain't Israelites. They ain't gonna want to accept that. But the truth should set them free. It's a burden to them, and it should be a burden to them walking around thinking that they are Israelites and then reading Tanakh history and then not fulfilling none of the curses or the prophecies dealing with the Israelites. They got to be a burden, man, on them people, just claiming the Israelite heritage that's not really Israelites, for them to walk around thinking that they Israelites and then be reading the Tanakh and then see, man, that they history don't even fit, none of it. Well, it's a solution now, and we can fix it, man, where, man, it's just, the truth gonna have to set everybody free. And then that's why come I say that this Israelite issue needs to be settled. If this Israelite issue is settled, then it ain't gonna make no difference who an Israelite or who claiming the Israelite heritage, because the prophecies will be done come to an end. I got a video showing what to make prophecy come to an end is to place us in Hebron, in our homeland. That'll make prophecy come to an end. And then it won't matter who an Israelite is, because we been got back home, and once we get home, we know what we got to do, and we know how we got to be and how we got to act and so forth. But how many people do we let claim an Israelite heritage? How many people do we let claim an Israelite heritage? Man, I say we can't let nobody claim an Israelite heritage that is not truthfully an Israelite. Man, I was kind of like, it's really not a debate, you know what I'm saying? But I was exchanging many few words with this individual on Facebook that say that it's folks from Ireland and that they from the tribe of Dan and so forth, and it really believe this. And he really believe this, and they not taking into account Tanakh history. Real Tanakh history was written, and what's been written and translated, they not taking that into account. They just, they parents told them that they was Israelites and from this tribe, and then they parents before them probably told them. But I can explain where they got it from. It's easily to explain where they got it from, and one of the main things is, that's like the guy was saying that his folks from Ireland, you know what I'm saying? Now, man, if you see that red line, that's showing the Randanites, man, the Jewish trade routes, the Jewish guilds, you know what I'm saying? They was called Randanites, you know what I'm saying? The Randanites. And one of the main spots, man, that they went to, man, is Ireland. You know what I'm saying? Ireland, Iceland, you know what I'm saying? Man, they all up the coast, everywhere. You know what I'm saying? They all over, man, they all over Europe. And the islands, the Celtic peoples, and, man, you know what I'm saying? Iceland, and man, they went all through everywhere. You know what I'm saying? All up north. Man, they crisscrossed Europe everywhere. So everywhere they went, Man, some of them places, they converted peoples, man. I'm talking about this thousands of years ago. They converted people, and then those peoples that's converted, they think that they Israelites. You know what I'm saying? It's like the Celtic peoples, and all those folks, the folks in England. You got, man, the British thinking that they Israelites and that the tribe of Dan, because Denmark and all this stuff, but ain't nobody explaining that a whole bunch of Jewish merchants went through these towns a long time ago. Man, they gonna have kids, and then these Jewish merchants thought that they was from the tribe of Israel, and then the majority of them were storytellers. Man, they write books and tell stories and create all kind of stories, man, about the Israelites and far off land. While they sitting around campfires and stuff. And then, man, they'll tell an old Israelite story. And then those Israelite stories, man, become truthful to those peoples, because those peoples was just a little level above being barbarians and stuff. But they can understand. And then when them Babylonian scribes come in with the schools, then they come in with the Israelite history, and then the churches and all of those stuff. And then them people start thinking that they Israelites after a while, especially hundreds of years and hundreds of years of believing this. Now these merchants then did this all over, especially in India. Man, they got the folks in India and China and men everywhere, what I'm saying, thinking that the Israelites are descendants from the Israelites, from the merchants, long time ago. You know what I'm saying? The Babylonian merchants taking capitalism everywhere, trading. That's how stuff got around back then. Me them Amorite merchants, everywhere in all the ancient lands. So, they can mix with people, and that's what Semitic, the word Semitic come from, Semi. They mix with the folks in the land, and then the folks with their land carry on that heritage, and then them be posts that them folks can come back to. That's like I explained that how the Eastern nations is mostly under the influence and believe that the Sephardists are the Israelites, because those are the folks that, the Sephardists come to them, and them the ones that they seen as Israelites. And then when Ashkenazi pull up later on looking different, then it's a conflict, and them folks ain't with, accepting them, and then Ashkenazi come in by force, because they gonna take whatever the Edomite Sephardists got, that red shield. I'm the real red shield. Alright? So them folks living in all these lands, them Babylonian scribes, they got pigmentation. Some of them ain't got pigmentation, but they mixing with the folks, and then they telling them folks that they Israelites. They telling them folks that they Israelites, because they been thinking that they Israelites since we abandoned covenant during the Babylonian wars. Thousands of years ago. So we got to be, conscious of this and understand this, so you can explain to the folks that's claiming the Israelite heritage that's not from the transatlantic slave trade, which I'm going to prove the people from the transatlantic slave trade are the only Israelites. Now, if you mix with us and you can trace your heritage to the transatlantic slave trade peoples that they call Negroes, then you got an Israelite heritage. That's like the guy, on YouTube was saying, well, it's hard for you to prove, that you're an Israelite and all this. What is Queen or something his name? You know what I'm saying? And he say that it's hard for me to prove, Israel been Israel, show proof, which I doubt you can, because there's none. Exactly. That's how I can show proof I'm an Israelite, is because the real Israelites went into Africa abandoning the covenant. They didn't even want nothing to do with the Israelite heritage. Completely. They didn't want nothing meant to do with the Israelite heritage. Completely abandoned it. So, if anybody claiming an Israelite heritage after the covenant was broke, they could be shown not to be Israelites easily. But the people that say that they Israelites and can't prove what tribe they come from and how they got it all set up, which we can now, then those gonna be the Israelites because the prophecies match them. You know, the people that got their heritage blotted out and was enslaved and been dogged out, the ones that they give 10 different names, Negroes, blacks, African Americans, where they got a heritage just like Prophet Moses prophesies, you know, and it's like you people would be trying to make a lie out of Yah and Prophet Moses if you claim an Israelite heritage unchallenged, knowing that you're not an Israelite. And then we got proof to show that you ain't an Israelite. You know, that's bad business for us to know that you're not an Israelite and then not explain to you the truth. You know, and then it's bad business on your behalf claiming to be an Israelite, knowing that you haven't fulfilled none of the prophecies and especially none of the curses. Then you making the creator into a liar. So you people that's not Israelites, you should back up off the Israelite heritage because you cursing yourself now. You putting a curse on yourself now for claiming an Israelite heritage that had curses and bondage associated with it, and then you claiming the heritage and you didn't have that. So those curses gonna come on you because you intuition them on you. You you wish them on yourself. So that's coming. So you claiming to be an Israelite and then you not really an Israelite, then you got the bondage that the Israelite was up under coming to you. It's only just because you claiming the Israelite heritage, then you need to experience the hardship. And then that's why come the Tanakh say that the curse is gonna go on to other folks. Makes sense to me because if they claiming the Israelite heritage and really not, then they entitled to the punishment that the Israelites had. What we didn't endure. Now it's only right. So all these people's claiming the Israelite heritage, not fulfilling the prophecies that Prophet Moses prophesies against the Israelites, it is like saying Yah ain't real. Because here they is walking around with an Israelite heritage in all these lands, meaning all these lands, you know what I'm saying? Especially the dude say up here in Ireland and stuff, you know what I'm saying? And then yeah, the Irish folks been oppressed by the British folks, but they in their land and they done fought back and they got sovereignty. They ain't been brung there by no ships, picking no crops that other folks benefited from. They always had their heritage and they had the will to fight. That's why come they free now. You see what I'm saying? Free from the British colonial control. You know, sometimes Caucasian folks put other Caucasian folks in like a little bondage, especially the ones close to them and stuff, and they try to spread their authority wherever they can spread it at. You know what I'm saying? And that's how Ireland got caught up. Its own people put them in like a little slick bondage, but they always had sovereignty in a land that they could fight on. You know, and that's why come they got sovereignty and freedom now. So we know that the people from Ireland and Britain are not Israelites because they claim an Israelite heritage after the covenant was broken and the Israelites abandoned Israelite identification. And then it goes for all the folks around the world, even the folks over here in India, especially in India. You know what I'm saying? You got a whole bunch of them. A whole bunch of them come from the trade routes. You know what I'm saying? And the Sephardists love India and set up in India the first religion to set foot in India. You know what I'm saying? I show how the Babylonian scribes, I got a video showing how the Babylonian scribes went to Bactria and which is in Afghanistan and into all other points and had scribing towns and stuff, and Slick helped them folks develop their writing and language and all that stuff. That's why come, the Amorites, the Sephardists or Edomites are able to go in all the eastern nations and set up and not be harmed and so forth, because those folks in those nations seen them first claiming the Israelite heritage. Seen them first claiming the Israelite heritage. All right, should we let everybody claim an Israelite heritage? You know what I'm saying? How many peoples do we let claim an Israelite heritage? I say none that ain't part of the transatlantic slave trade. And the reason that I'm going to show this, because all the Israelites went into Africa during the Babylonian Wars. That's easily seen and understood. I got countless videos showing this. And then in Tanakh history, man, I can show that it's impossible for us to have went up to all these northern nations, for the simple fact that prophet Jeremiah told us that the northern nations was coming to get us. And then the northern nations show up at our door. So why in the world would we go up north to the cold regions when we used to being in the tropical regions and then had an affinity with Egypt? Now let's get this understood, that Egypt today is not the boundaries of the Egypt in the past, and how the Egypt in the past went all the way over into southern Libya and so forth, and in the Sudan and Chad and so forth, and that how the political boundaries of the nations in Africa come from the League of Nations and the Europeans dividing Africa up. So that's not Egypt original land. So when folks be talking about Egypt, they be trying to slick refer to modern day Egypt in this political boundaries, not taking into account that ancient Egypt boundaries went all the way into Africa and so forth. So when we Israelites say that we was going into Egypt, Africa to worship, we didn't say that we was just going to hang around the coastline and around them parts. We meant that we was going into Africa, Egypt, that's deep in, way away from them folks from the north in the coastline and so forth. And that'd be the Mishwish tribes. The Mishwish tribes are like the founders of what you call Lower Egypt. They control Lower Egypt. And we had an affinity with them, and we kicked it with them. And I got videos explaining this. We kicked it with them, and they control what's called Lower Libya. And we would be there after we broke covenant during the Babylonian Wars, as I could show that the Israelites always wanted to go into Africa, our backyard, and that how we never, ever mentioned in Tanakh history of us going up north, meant to live in the European cold regions and so forth. So it wouldn't make no sense knowing that this is Japhet's land, and then that the prophet said that the folks from the north was going to come and get us. So why would we go north when Tanakh say that we went south and into Africa, the interior Africa? As I explained, the Egypt borders stretch farther into Africa than what the colonialists and them dividing Africa up with the League of Nations and so forth. So man, that's easily seen. And then I want to show this. All right, let's see the book of Jeremiah, showing that them folks come from the north. Now, if them folks come from the north, that we can count that out of the Israelites running to the north, because it would make no sense. Especially when we wanted to worship the Egyptian gods and so forth. Now, as you get in the book of Jeremiah, the first chapter and so forth, he telling you, that prophet Jeremiah said to the nations, so he know where the nations was and so forth. And then he telling Almighty Yah, showing some holograms or some images and so forth. And prophet Jeremiah interpret those images. And then as you get down, man, it go like this around by 13. And the word of the Elohim came unto me the second time, saying, what seest thou? And I said, I see a seething pot. Look, I see a seething pot. A seething pot. and the face thereof is towards the north. So that's up above us. So that's a seething pot up above us, a boiling pot. That ain't good. You know what I'm saying? A seething, boiling pot. You know, the way he describing it. So we know that that's from the north. All right. Then the Elohim said unto me, out of the north an evil shall break forth upon all the inhabitants of the earth. So if the folks gonna cause the trouble, men is up in the north, it don't make no sense for an Israelite to go north. As Tanakh showed that we didn't. We dealing with Tanakh history. We ain't dealing with the traders' history that they done left in other lands converting folks, and how we going strictly off the Tanakh. Because like I say, that the folks that's been enslaved and really been through the curses that ran into Africa where the Tanakh showed the Israelites ran, they got a history just like, the Israelites. And we function just like the Israelites now. Our wickedness and evilness is the same. Ain't no other people on the face of this earth been a long-standing evil and wickedness, even after abundance and so forth, like we have and so forth. And Tanakh say that we would be like that. All right, so the folks up from the north is gonna cause the troubles, and that come to pass because all the folks from the north, even the Scythians, Ashkenazi, and all the other folks, all Japhet children, all them folks from the north caused trouble, and all of them moved down. The Greeks, man, especially the Greeks, Javan, and all them folks moved down to the promised land and set their gate up. You know what I'm saying? Set their throne at the gate. So we know that ain't no Israelite in his right mind gonna go up north knowing that that's where all the folks at. I could show that we knew about Africa long time ago, because when we exited Africa, we had to know a place, man, to get the stones for the breastplates. And the Egyptians didn't give us the stones for the breastplates, but that how we had an African connection. You know what I'm saying? All the time. I mean, it's like this. You get Mozambique, you get the sapphire, Tanzania, West Africa, diamonds, Mozambique, the Braille, Tanzania, the Amherst, and the onyx stone, and Botswana. You know what I'm saying? Got some of the stone, the cubanicle, Zambia, the emerald, and Botswana, the agate, and jasper. You know what I'm saying? That's found all over Africa. But all them stones right there, man, is basically in East Africa, hanging out close where we Israelites was. You know what I'm saying? And that I could show that the tribe of Ephraim had a long-standing relationship with the Egyptians, as the book of Hosea show this. Show this. He mad about the tribe of Ephraim keeping a long-standing relationship with the Egyptians, which doomed us in the end, because the Egyptians always wanted to put their godson worship on us and didn't want us to worship the Father, and how they want us to worship God's Son the same way as the Mesopotamians wanted us to worship the God's sons. And then that's what they put on us in the slavery day after they captured us. The Egyptian gods on their walls are God's sons and so forth. Well, the same as the ones in Mesopotamia, God's sons. And then our enemies try to put God's son worship on us. You got Israelites right now believe in God worship, God's son worship and so forth. They trapped in the Babylonian captured frame of mind and so forth. All right. All them folks, in all these lands, claiming the Israelite heritage is false, because, the Israelites had an affinity with Egypt. And once we broke covenant, that's where we ran to. And that the peoples from the north It's a place that we didn't go because there was prophecy from Prophet Jeremiah that they would come, and then they start showing up. So that's why the Tanakh say that we went into Africa, and when we went into Egypt, Egypt is not the borders that the enemies got today. You know, they got it small and way in the corner, whereas Egypt pyramids can be found, you know, in lower Libya and so forth. You know, so you know we know Prophet Jeremiah said that the folks from the north was gonna come, so it wouldn't make no sense for us to go to Finland, go to Finland, go to Poland, go to Germany, go to Denmark. I don't care where they got the name Denmark. It ain't from the tribe of Dan, because the tribe of Dan lost their heritage just like all the Israelites. That they broke the covenant, and that how the tribe of Dan was just like all the other Israelites that ran into Africa to do the Egyptian religion, and that how that they wouldn't just leave their brothers and sisters and go up to a cold region where historical enemies has been coming from. And we know that the Greeks, the Greeks come to our land because we whooped them under the name Gramentian, and they come from the north as well as the Romans. You know, we know that this is their land up there, is why we stayed down here. You understand what I'm saying? Is why we stayed down here, meaning these parts, and we didn't just go hang up there. And our first derogatory name was Gramentian. Gramentian. I got a video explaining how that they had a Gramentian on the plantation, and if they got a Gramentian on the plantation, and then they abolished that name Gramentian, and you ain't heard of it no more. But this Gramentian helped them cure smallpox, where the Gramentian got a documented history by the Greeks. And I showed that they are the Israelites that ran into Africa, abandoning the covenant, meaning say we don't want nothing to do with what Moses say, and that how we going into Africa to live their customs and they religion and their culture is what we did, and that's documented in the Tanakh. So anybody that's claiming the Israelite heritage after that, it can be shown to be false. It can be shown to be false. Like I'm showing that the Israelites wouldn't go up north where the enemy is at. All where the enemy is at, because Prophet Jeremiah said this where they coming from. And sure enough, right now today, this is where they been. All these folks up here been causing the folks down here trouble. All the folks up here, all the folks up here, all the folks up here, especially that little island right there, been causing all the folks down here trouble and everywhere else. That's like I said this. If Russia get into a war with them folks, that how they gonna win. Russia gonna win because we needs to be free and we need our homeland. But not only will we be free, man, if you looked at Britain, and France, all these islands, man, that they control. Man, I'm talking about, man, they got islands all around the world. Islands everywhere, man. Islands all in the Pacific. Islands all in the Atlantic. Thousands of them, hundreds of them. Where these folks, men from these little bitty lands, way up here, then conquered all these folks, meaning these other lands, and making these other lands live by their will. You know, the folks up here in France got everybody under yoke, all these islands and so forth, and all these folks, same as Britain, man, they don't even live in these islands, but they got them under yoke and got the folks in oppression, and the folks got the answer to them thousands of miles away. They ain't got no right to be controlling these folks in these islands and all these places. Guess what? If they get in the war with Russia, all them folks and all them islands gonna be free. Everybody all around the world gonna be free. Not just us, but all the islands that France, the United States, and Britain own, colonies that they got off in far off lands. Man, them folks moaning and groaning and want to be free. Well, if Russia get in the war with them, everybody on the whole planet Earth gonna be free. And not just us Israelites, but some of everybody. Man, these folks got islands and them folks stay way over here. Some small folks. Not even a bunch of them, but they conquered all these islands and took control of them and put their government structure on them. And then if war break out, all them folks gonna be free. All around the world. All around the world. Britain got a whole bunch of islands. All around the world. All these islands and so forth. Man, it's messed up that them folks, and then that's what's keeping these folks in control, is because they getting the resources from all these different lands that they conquered and so forth. Like a parasite, just draining them folks where they need to come to an end. And when we Israelites get free, man, it should free everybody else too. It should free everybody else too. All right, let's get back to some scriptures. All right. How many people do we let claim an Israelite heritage? Should we be truthful to them? I say we should be truthful to them, and that we shouldn't just let everybody claim an Israelite heritage, because they say the truth should set you free. So ain't no reason, man, for them folks walking around, you know what I'm saying, in bondage, thinking that they Israelites, you know what I'm saying, and then they really ain't. Man, that's a bondage. Man, that's a burden to them. So we gonna help them get that burden, man, up off them. All right, so we know that the Israelites always wanted to go back to Egypt. Always wanted to go back to Africa. That's throughout the whole Tanakh. That's part of Tanakh history. If you done read the Tanakh, then you should know that the Israelites always wanted to go back to Egypt and always had an association with the Egyptians. That's because we did the Egyptians' religion. That's why prophet Ezekiel said this. Man, let me find that verse, man. You know what I'm saying? I usually turn right to it, but this is what prophet Ezekiel said. And he telling us that this is what doomed us. All the prophets told us, y'all messing with them Egyptians and that God son worship, you're going down. That Almighty Yah curses is going to come to pass on you. But because the Egyptians had parties and fun and everything, and man, we didn't listen. But this is what prophet Ezekiel said. The word of the Elohim came unto me again. The word of the Elohim came again unto me, saying, Son of man, there were two women, the daughter of one mother, and they committed whoredoms in Egypt. They committed whoredoms in their youth. There were their breasts pressed, and there they bruised the tents of their virginity. And the name of them are Ahala the elder, and Abala her sister, and they were mines, and they bore sons and daughters. This were the names Samaria and is Ahala, and Jerusalem is Abala. So in our youth, we got tied up in the Egyptian culture, as it could be shown that we sojourned there a long time. So, we're going to be, tied up in the Egyptian culture. Man, that's like us being in the Americas 400 years and then you go take us somewhere else. That's not American in this culture. You're going to see the culture on us. No matter where we go, you're going to see that on us, especially if it's in large thousands of us. You're going to see that. Well, that's the way it was then. And so, us having an Egyptian youth, a connection from our youth, is the reason why we ran into Africa to be with them, because that's where we always wanted to go and where we had familiarity with. So it wouldn't make no sense to go to all those other lands that's not mentioned in the Tanakh. The Tanakh say went into Africa. What part of that you peoples can't understand what it is? You just don't want to accept that. You don't want to accept that. That's why y'all need to help me bring this Israelite issue to an end through the Israelite Brotherhood. All right, let's go to Exodus Exodus 14. We got to show a little history of the Israelites wanting to always go to Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Go back to Africa, and then after we had been in bondage, man, in Egypt, and then we got released, and we was with Prophet Moses, and then we had run across, man, a little hardship going into the on our way into the promised land, man, meant to where this happened. You know what I'm saying? And the people said this because we had left and the Egyptians pursued us. You know, they want us to be on God's son worship. You know, we're a threat to them if we leave in Egypt and we finna go set up and do the father worship. You know, the God's son's father worship. You know, they didn't want that. You know what I'm saying? That's like somebody going to tell your daddy on you. You know what I'm saying? It's probably how the Egyptians was looking at it. You know, all right. And when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes. This is Exodus 14, 10. And it goes to 11. And behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were so afraid. And the children of Israel cried unto the Elohim, and they said unto Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dealt with us to carry us forth out of Egypt? Is it not that the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. So, you know, that's what the people had, that type of mentality the whole time. The whole time, as I can show that, you know, hundreds of years later, we still fooling with the Egyptians and had a mentality to associate with the Egyptians. As you can read the book of Hosea, is strictly about that. That's what it's about. The Israelites mixing up with the Egyptians. Look, man, this is Hosea 12. Ephraim feedeth on wind and followeth after the east wind. He daily increases lies and desolation, and they do make a covenant with the Assyrians, and all is carried into Egypt. And then this in 753 BC, way after almost 400 years after we in Exodus, we still got an association with the Egyptians. So it wouldn't make no sense for the Israelites to run off to these far off lands during Assyrian times, during our little troubles with the Assyrians. And the only trouble with the Assyrians is that Almighty Yah was removing the fighters. The Assyrians needed the fighters to fight against Ashkenazi that was coming and taking over. That they had took over Babylonia and Babylon and so forth, and they was mixing it up. So they needed the three tribes, Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh. But how everybody knew their way home, and then how everybody would have the opportunity to come home from Assyria, being that the Assyrians set up the Sattite kings, Necho in his land and his foreparents and so forth, and how the Assyrians come in to Egypt. I think it was 697, and took it over, and then installed these individuals and ran the Cushite Nubians out of control. You know, the folks who we would have a problem with in Egypt in Joseph's time, when the Nubians come on and didn't know Joseph works, because like I say, we kicked it with the lower Egyptians, and when the upper Egyptians come on, that's the Ethiopian Nubian stock, and we had conflict with them. You know, and then how that the ones from lower Egypt represented West Africa and got all the pyramids built on the west side of the Nile and so forth. All right, so we always wanted to go back to Egypt, and we kicked it with his pharaohs, and that the Assyrians put Necho, the Sattite kings on, and then the ones, if any Israelite that was taken during Assyrian times, we would have had the opportunity, men, to make it back, and would have been some fools if Ephraim taken all in Egypt and y'all don't know y'all way back home. Something wrong. But this showing the Assyrian Empire, you know what I'm saying, at its apex, you know what I'm saying, when it took Egypt over. That was 671 BC. But you see how it took it over. You know what I'm saying? They controlled the whole Egypt, the Assyrians did. So any Israelites took into Assyria in 722 BC, he would have made it home. And that's why the Syrians took them, because they was able to use them Israelites, the tribe of Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, to fight. Let's see if I can show that. Let's see if I can show that real quick. But ain't no Israelites went up north, man, to Ireland or Britain. Don't make no sense when Prophet dropped it. I mean, when Prophet Jeremiah said that's, the folks up north was coming, you know what I'm saying, to cause the problems and stuff. That it'd be real foolish for the Israelites, man, to do that. We did some foolish stuff. But we didn't just run into our enemy's hand. It showed that we ran away from our enemies in the opposite direction, as I can show real easily. Look, but here go Reuben. Look, the sons of Reuben, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, valiant men able to bear buckler and sword and shoot with bows, skillful in war, were 440,703 score that went out to war. All right, and the Yah of Israel stirred up the spirit of Paul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, and he carried them away, even the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, and brought them to Habor and Holler. That's why come the Israelites were able to be seen in the land under King Hezekiah, 716 BC, when he come on 7 years after the so-called Syrian captivity, and how the Israelites are still in the land. That's 2 Chronicles 30. But we see that them Israelites with the Assyrian Empire is how Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh is how it spread it. It's how it spread it. And remember, Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh in the northern kingdom is on Egyptian religion. So, they would go chase the Nubians out of control and install the Mishwish kings. The Mishwish kings. They would install the Mishwish kings of Necho. The Setite kings are the Mishwish kings. Those are the founders of Lower Egypt and so forth. So, the Syrians would hook up with them and we would be on. And this old evil devil would have King Josiah killed for trying to resist the God's son worship. And how King Josiah was a prophecy king that was prophesied to get rid of the God's son worship, and he got rid of it in the land, and then this devil come killed him, and then put us on Egyptian religion, and all of us would go into Africa, all the tribes, and then we would be enslaved eventually. And then that's how we didn't go north. Israelite history is simple, real simple, and we ain't gonna let nobody men caboose us. The folks can claim they Israelites if they want to, but we gonna say, no, you ain't no Israelite, and then explain how they ain't an Israelite if they ain't coming off the transatlantic slave trade. We can explain how you're not an Israelite if you're not coming off the transatlantic slave trade. Hey, that's what it boiled down to. You people been having a long-standing heritage with the Israelite heritage and title, and man, you can't get mad that it's finna get taken from you, because you done had it for a long time. You done been blessed with our title all around the world, you folks have. But now it's time for us to get our blessings for our name and our heritage, and we ain't finna let you folks stop that. We ain't gonna let you stop it. So as I shown that we wanted to go back into Egypt with Prophet Moses. You know what I'm saying? Now let's go to Exodus 16 and see what it say. See what it say. We didn't stop really wanting to get into go back to Egypt, man, until we got in the land and started whooping on some folks and got some land in a little possessions. But how our trade and activities always still associated us with Egypt. Yes. All right. And then let's go to Genesis. I mean, not Genesis. Let's get to Exodus. Exodus. That'll be Exodus 16. Let me see. 16:3. All right. And I'm going to just read 6. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came into the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, and on the 15th day of the second month, after they departed out of the land of Egypt. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured. Look, and then we've been out of Egypt for a good little minute. 2 months, 15 days. You know what I'm saying? And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, would to Yah we had died by the hand of the Elohim in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. For ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Now look here. I can show that's the same thing we said when we ran into Egypt, abandoning the covenant. That's the same thing we said when we ran into Egypt, abandoning the covenant, is that Egypt got food and they got all this good stuff. All this good stuff. All this food. We ain't got to hear the sound of the trumpet. So we know that the folks ain't go north because their heart was always set on going into Africa. People that we knew. Wouldn't make no sense to go way up to the enemy's land that Prophet Jeremiah said was coming to get us, and then go kick it in their land. They wouldn't even have to go look for us, because we'll be right there where they at. Wouldn't make no sense for the prophecies to have been prophesied the way that it did. If the peoples went up north and kicked it with them, that it wouldn't make no sense for the enemies to come down to the south and take our land over, because we'll be up there with them. We'd have voluntarily went into slavery is what they saying. Y'all voluntarily went into slavery, because that's what would have happened if we'd have went north. All right, and then look here. And then the same as we said, and the children of Israel said unto them, would to Yah we had died by the hand of the Elohim in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full, for ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill us. Now listen here. This is what we said. Going into Africa, breaking the covenant for the last time. But we finally said, man, we're going back to Africa to live. And that was the last time when we got chased up out the land during the Babylonian wars, that we totally quit the covenant. And we didn't go north. We went into Africa, just like this say. Then all the men which knew that their wives had burnt incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by, a great multitude, all the people that dwelled in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, as for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Elohim, we will not hearken unto thee, but we will certainly do so whatever thing go forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, our princes in the cities of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of food, and were well, and saw no evil. So we said that we was doing well when we was doing the Egyptian religion. So we're going to go to its original spot in Egypt. It is where we was at. And we was saying this. We was saying this. That, hey, we ain't going to do the covenant no more, because all the food and all the activities and everything that we want is here in Africa. We didn't say that we was going up to Ireland to hang out, or we was going to India to hang out, or anywhere in these lands, but that we was going into Egypt. We was already there in the book of Jeremiah, and that how we had food and everything, man, for worshiping their gods and so forth. So we know ain't no Israelites went to Ireland. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no Israelites went to Ireland. That's a lie. And look, man, to show you how crucial it is, let me see, 44:18. Yeah. All right. All right. How about let me see, Numbers. Let's see what Numbers say. Numbers 14. Let's see what Numbers 14 say. I got it for a reason. Numbers 14. There ain't no Israelite left the promised land and went up north when that's where the enemies was from, and that's where the enemies come from. We don't function like that, man. The Tanakh show you how we function. It's a pattern how we function. We gonna take the easy way out, and the easy way was to go into Africa by way of Egypt, and that's what we did. All right, 14:4. Let's see what this say. All right. And all right, here it is again. And all the children of Israel murmured against Moses, and against Aaron, and the whole congregation said unto them, would Yah that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would Yah we had died in the wilderness? And wherefore had the Elohim brought us unto this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be a prey? Were it not better for us to return to Egypt? And they said one to another, let us make a captain, and let us return to Egypt. See, right there, right there, right there. We did that again in the book of Jeremiah, in our end, how we made a captain and returned to Egypt. And we never come back to the promised land after we went into Africa breaking the covenant, because we said that it was better for us in Africa doing their religion, eating their food. So, you know, it's going to be hard for you folks claiming the Israelite heritage in the other lands once this truth get out and the Israelites start flexing with it. Flexing with it. Look. Then all the captains of the forces, and Johan the son of Ker, and Jezaniah the son of Hoshea, and all the people, even the least of them, and men unto the greatest, said unto Jeremiah, we said, Jeremiah, hey man, we ain't gonna listen to you. All right, look, all right. So Johan the son of Ker, and all the captains of the forces, and all the people obeyed not the voice of the Elohim to dwell in the land of Judah. But Johan the son of Ker and all the captains of the forces took all the remain of Judah that were returned from all nations, that's from the Syrian Empire everywhere, whether they had been driven to dwell in the land of Judah, even men and women and children, and the king's daughter, every person that Nebuchadnezzar, the captain of the guard, had left with Godiah. So they came into the land of Egypt, for they obeyed not the voice of the Elohim. The same as when we Exodus. The same as when we Exodus. We said we was going to do that 800 years, man, before our man was still set on returning to Egypt 800 years later, because we was only in the promised land 812 years, about something like that. Man, about 812 years we was in the promised land. So then, you know, we had our heart set on going back into Africa the whole time. As it said right here, as I just showed you in our end game, how we said the same thing from the beginning. How we said the same thing from the beginning.
And wherefore had the Elohim brought us unto this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be a prey? Were it not better for us to return to Egypt? And they said one to another, let us make captives and let us return to Egypt. All right, we did that in the book of Jeremiah. We did that in the book of Jeremiah. So, the Tanakh show where the Israelites went to. The Tanakh show where the Israelites went to. So all you other folks trying to claim an Israelite heritage in these foreign lands, I show you that you get it from the Randonite traders. And look, man, coincidentally, they didn't come where we was in the Sahara, Lower Libya. They did trade all around us, but they didn't come where we was, because they know how we gonna act and how we gonna get down. That's why it took all them other folks to be against us to bring us here. But look here. Look, the Celtic peoples, all these folks, look, the Jewish merchants, the Randonites, and they've been to all these lands. Wherever you see that land, that's where they done been and set up shop. And then whenever they got the name of the places where they did heavy trading and gonna set up synagogues and gonna set up a shop real good in them lands, wherever the name's at. And the Celtic peoples, they got a little taste of the merchants, the Randonite merchants. So we know that they ain't Israelites in Ireland and all the other places. And we know where they got their Israelite heritage, and that they gonna get their Israelite heritage from the trade routes. You know what I'm saying? That's like I'm gonna show one more time. This is silly right here. I already show in the book of Ezekiel how it showed that we had an affinity with the Egyptians, and that how could nothing change that. Can't nothing change us, man, from wanting to be with the Egyptians and then being with them. Being with them and going there to live with them. So, saying that the Israelites went to all these old foreign lands and all that old mess, man, y'all can cut that mess out. Now, if a prophet ran to Egypt during his hardship, that he didn't think of going no other way north and all the other places, and that how he ran to where he thought safety was, as we Israelites did when we had trouble. We thought running into Africa was safe for us, and it was till the transatlantic slave trade started. All right, man, if you go to Jeremiah 26, let's go to Jeremiah 26. Jeremiah 26. All right. It's this prophet. I forgot his name. I'm gonna read his name. Urijah, and then how that Jehoiakim, King Josiah's son, that the Egyptians turned out and put on their religion. That how he went and chased this prophet that had escaped off into Egypt, thinking he was gonna be safe. He a Yah believer. I don't know why he thought he was gonna be safe in Egypt among the God's son worshippers, and that how when he went and ducked into Egypt, they got him and brung him back and put him to death. The God's son worshippers put him to death. Look. And there was also a man that prophesied in the name of the Elohim, Urijah, the son of Shema of Kerithrijam, who prophesied against the city and against the land according to all the word of Jeremiah, because we was doing Egyptian worship. King Josiah being killed, the Egyptians, man, everybody was trying to take us down. If they want to take an Israelite down, they gonna put you on God's son worship, or have you honoring a God's son in some kind of way, and then that destroys the Israelite. And the Egyptians did it, and the Babylonians did it, and that's what doomed us, got us chased up off the land. All right, look, all right. Now where in the world? All right. And there was also a man that prophesied in the name of the Elohim, Urijah, the man, the son of Shemi of Kerithrijam, who prophesied against the city and against this land according to all the words of Jeremiah. And when Jehoiakim the king with all his mighty men and all the princes heard his words, the king sought to put him to death. But when Urijah heard it, he was afraid and fled and went into Egypt. Listen, he was afraid. And he ran to Egypt like we instinctively do. Instinctively did, being that Africa was a big continent. We was aware of it because we got our stones from Africa, as I showed that a whole bunch of the breastplate stones come from out of Africa. So we're going to have some familiarity with Africa, being that the tribe of Ephraim took all from Assyria into Egypt. And as I explained, that the Egyptian borders are not the same as it was in ancient times, and that how did these new borders come from them, the colonialists taking Egypt over. You see what I'm saying? So here's a prophet getting chased out to running to Egypt instinctively. And when Jehoiakim the king with all his mighty men and all the princes heard his words, the king sought to put him to death. But when Urijah heard it, he was afraid and fled and went into Egypt. And Jehoiakim the king sent men into Egypt, namely Elnathan, the son of Archibald, and certain men with him into Egypt. And they fetched forth Urijah out of Egypt and brought him unto Joachim the king, who slew him with the sword and cast his dead body into the graves of the common people. You see, and they was hooked up with this dude right here. He the one that killed Jehoiakim's father, King Josiah. And we was worshiping God, son. So we had an affinity with the Egyptians, and how we wouldn't go and run to Europe where Prophet Jeremiah say the enemies was coming from. You know, it's simple to understand this. It's simple to understand it. I had a whole lot of other little history that I was gonna put down, but man, I believe this will close it up, because we already know, the Amorites, the Sephardims, and all where they come from and everything. We ain't missing nothing with the Israelite Brotherhood, but I thought I should clear that up. That ain't no Israelites ran up north when the whole Tanakh history show, even hundreds of years after our Exodus, that we still ran to Egypt for safety. All right, Israelites, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. How many people do we let claim an Israelite heritage? Should we be truthful to them? This truth should set them free. But we got to be truthful, man, about our Israelite heritage. And if a person claiming the Israelite heritage that didn't go through the transatlantic slave trade, then we can easily show that they not Israelites, because you have to fulfill the curses. And then showing that you went through the transatlantic slave trade and suffer the curses show that Yah is real. But if they claiming the Israelite heritage and didn't go through the curses, they trying to slick show that Yah is not real. So we Israelites got to show that Yah is real. Shalom, Israelite Brotherhood family. I pray that everybody is doing well and we getting closer to the headquarters.